Of course you would.
Just say it.
Of course you would.
Let's start with a happy.
Second. Today's the second.
Today's the second, but happy Wednesday. But this might be a happy Thursday, so go with it, everyone. So today I have JR here on the channel, and I told you guys that I was very excited about this interview, and he made it late, but he made it, and that's all that matters, right?
Right.
So I'm very excited about that. So I'm going to ask questions, we're going to talk, and just enjoy. So can you tell me and everyone here on the Kika channel a little bit about yourself?
Okay, my name is JR. Me, I'm actually, I'm not religious. I'm not anything like that. I'm just an average person that's gone through some pretty exciting, scary things in my life. So that's pretty much it.
All right. So let me guys give you a little bit of background. So the fun thing is that we actually met on an Easter Sunday like party. And I happened to have this ring on. And the ring was a
mood.
It was a Muakite. Yeah, you're right. It was a Muakite ring, and he asked me about the ring. Asking about the ring led into this wild conversation that essentially had the whole room kind of captivated as he talked about all of his different experiences, and we just talked about just all this stuff that happened along the way. So of course it always stood in my mind. Now what he may not know is that that night, because I was studying a lot, on my own, just trying to kind of get more of a intellectual perspective of the spiritual world, right? Because the spiritual stuff always happens, right? But then you want to study about it. At least that's what I was doing. And all of a sudden, being so deep in the study, I was like, this is just too much. And then here he comes along and shares that non-intellectual aspect of what this whole thing is all about. And that night, I went to bed. And I was like, what the hell just happened? My life was changed. I went to bed. I was all kind of startled. And I've told you guys this before, but I told you about someone tucking me into bed at night and coming into the room and tucking me into bed like a feminine force. Well, that was the night. It was right after I met him that someone tucked me into bed and pretty much said, everything's all right. Go ahead and go to sleep, honey. So this is why I brought him here, because I thought this was such a profound experience, so maybe we can share a little bit with that. So let's begin with the question.
Yeah. Hands are sweating already.
Yes. Oh, I sweat a lot. So good you're wearing black, because I wore white because this whole thing will get soaked. All right, so we're ready.
All right.
Don't feel bad about that. Okay, so first question. First thing I want to ask, well, what's the first thing that you might want to share? And one thing I want to talk about is that you told me a little bit about your grandmother. And can you tell me a little bit about her and what influence she had on your life?
Sure. So my grandmother's, she was half Cherokee Indian. She had a lot of gifts, and one of the gifts that she said that was passed down to me was foresight. At a young age, didn't know what that meant until I got a little older, probably my 13, 14 years old. I started experiencing seeing things from the other side, not in our world, in our era, as far as spirits. What
they look like?
Actually, they look like regular people, there's I had some experiences where I seen orbs, lights, energy. I've had experiences where I've seen dark shadows, which raises the hair on my body. It gives me this sense of anxiety, like scared. So I knew it wasn't something good, and it always kept its distance. I always seen it in the closets, hallways, passing through doorways, stuff like that. Those are the ones I stayed away from. Try not to think about, because you get pretty good nightmares. If I personally try to see what it was there for, or was it really what I was looking at was real, stuff like that. Other than that, I just see regular people. If you're not sure of what you're looking at, or if you're in denial, sometimes you won't even realize that you've seen something that's not of our world anymore. But yeah, that's
okay. Now, what's interesting about this is that right before you came, and that's how all this stuff works, someone was afraid to use mugwort. I made a video about mugwort tea, and they're afraid to use it because they didn't want any nightmares. And these are like the key words that you use. And they also said later on, they're like, please watch out, because when you open up a door to the spiritual world, it can be passed down through generations. And so, and then some people don't know how to get rid of them or say goodbye to the spirits. And so a lot of what you're saying is pretty much like that essentially a world was open to you.
Yeah.
It's passed down. You see things no matter what. And now, would you say, do you still see things?
Yeah. It depends. It's weird because this is gonna be weird. So I'm gonna speak to you with hoping that you have an open mind.
They do.
For me, I have to be barefooted or with socks on and no hat on, nothing on my head. So there's energy passing through my body for some reason. And the strongest is right before sex and right after sex. It's almost like another part of me, like senses are opened up, from sexual energy. That's where, I get up and, this and that, and I start to feel things or see things or I have a feeling like I'm going to have company later on in the night, which it scares me because I don't know what's coming through, what kind of company, if it's good, if it's bad, if it's relative, if I don't know what it is. And so usually when I feel like that, it's not all the time, it's just sometimes things get triggered. I don't know if...
So sexual energy triggers it?
Yes. And...
That it opens you up.
It opens me up. It's almost like if I was to go looking for it, I don't know how to trigger it just by I'm going to see if I could see something today. Nothing ever happens.
Okay.
But when I least suspect it and my mind is clear, that's when I start to feel different things. It hasn't happened in a long time. Like I said, sometimes it's happens back to back. Especially once it happens and I'm thinking about it like a day after and a day after and a day after. Somewhere within those days, I'm going to be, I don't know if I'm triggering, channeling, or calling, summons, whatever it is, they come, or my eyes are open. They could be there the whole time, but if my senses aren't open, my eyes aren't open, if I'm not looking, I miss them, which in my case isn't a bad thing because sometimes I get pretty scared.
So you don't study, right? So you don't study the occult.
Don't know nothing.
You don't know anything about it.
No.
It would be helpful if you did. Just
yeah.
Well, I think you would lose the fear.
Well, it's not the fear of, for instance, I used to work at my old job. I was a building engineer, building management. So I go into vacant buildings, or not buildings because the buildings are occupied, but I go into vacant suites. I fix them up, put in lights and everything. So sometimes when I go into a suite, they're dark, cold, there's nothing going on in there. I went into one, I put my ladder up, I had to put in some lights. So I finished this end over there. So all I see is light over there, but I'm in the dark area. So I'm putting in some lights, and I get that feeling. It wasn't the hair raising or something bad is around me. It was kind of not soothing, but it was just there. But I knew there was a presence in the room with me. So at that time, I kept my eyes to what my job, that's getting lights in that room, because I mean, regardless, I mean, if I studied and I knew what everything was, I probably wouldn't be afraid. But sometimes I can't help it, because I don't know what they're there for, why they choose to present themselves to me, or why I have the gift of foresight or whatever. So anyway, I'm putting in the lights. Before I get the light in, I see a motion down where I had just finished on the other side of the room down the hallway. So I decided, I'm just going to look to see what it was. So I look, and I see a little girl just standing there. Okay. And this is the thing too, once I talk about certain events, it's almost if I invite them back in and they show up while I'm talking, or sometimes later on that day. Or I just feel the presence, like, hey, he's talking about me, But she showed up. At that point, I said, okay, I'm just going to ignore her, and I kept putting the lights. And I looked again, and I didn't see her. Well, I finished putting the lights, and I looked down, and she was standing below my ladder looking up at me. At that time, I climbed down the ladder, closed my ladder, grabbed my stuff, did not look at her, did not look back. I walked out of the room. And then I kind of was like, you know what, I'm tripping. Months later, I was in the suite across from there, and I was talking to the receptionist, all the ladies in there, and I just happened to mention the little girl, just joking around, just to see what they say, and the whole room exploded. They were with excitement, and they were like, you cannot mention that little girl in this building, because Dr. Eisner, he had an encounter with her. He came in somewhere during the after hours. It was dark. No one was there. She presented herself to him in his office, and he didn't work for like a week. He was afraid to come to his office. Once he came back, he ordered everyone to never mention the little girl again, and this was months later. So it coordinates with my story and my mind, because sometimes I have a tendency of trying to filter it out by saying I'm tripping, but with them saying no, you can't mention this in front of or in his office, because if he hears you, he'll freak out. So things like that,
Question though.
Yeah.
Do you use your gift?
No. Honestly, I run
remember
from
you
it.
telling me this story, and now when I think about it, it had to be like, what, 4 years ago when I first heard the story?
Mm-hmm.
In 4 years, no exploration?
I mean...
Or just life becomes... I'm curious.
Well, I mean, I don't know how to use my gift, but I still see them. I still feel like, for example, just last month, I was in Mexico. We rented a house, my uncle's house. It's 6 bedrooms, all the way to the top. And I went upstairs, heard some noises. I knew what it was because I had already felt the presence, which is here again. Yeah, we're clicking right now. And I went and shut all the doors. For some reason, I just felt like I needed to shut every door in the house, which I did. And that's another thing. For some reason, I know stuff that get installed in me where I can't explain. I can't pinpoint. Let me finish this story first. Doors, I shut all the doors, cut off all the lights, went down. Everybody was downstairs. Upstairs, I heard the door open and shut. I knew no one was up there because everyone was downstairs. So I went upstairs. For some reason, I knew exactly which room it was. There's 6 bedrooms in this house all the way up. I went to the bedroom, opened the door, shut off the light. The light was on when I got up there. I kindly asked whatever it was, please do not play with the lights, and please do not open and shut the door, and please do not bother anyone in this household. If you're here for me, I am not in the mood. I'm here on vacation. This is where I have to talk to these people as if they are alive, as if they are sitting right next to me, if they're real, you know, because I feel like I get more results that way. I normally ignore it, and that usually fixes the problem, but sometimes it doesn't, and sometimes I actually have to say something.
So then this is my question. Do you hear? Because you're clairvoyant, meaning you see clearly. You see beyond the physical realm, okay? Mm-hmm. But can you hear? So, you are communicating, but are you able to receive communication with the spirits and entities or whatever is around you?
No. Nothing's ever spoke to me so far when I was 13. I believe I was dealing with a demon, and it was tormenting me by physically moving stuff in the house. I remember I was so afraid after about 20 minutes of things moving and doors slamming and me trapping myself in my mom's bedroom and her restroom. I asked it, I can't say it was a her, but I asked it to just leave me alone, but I was screaming, just leave me alone. And I heard a voice said, F you. And that was it. Nothing else.
And that was it?
That was it. There was not like the movies where you're having a conversation and you're yelling back and forth and it's voices all through the house. No. It was just, fuck you. And it sounded like a demon, but it sounded almost like a woman, a female demon. I don't know if they even have females or male demons. But it sounded feminine. It didn't sound masculine. But that was the only time. So honestly, I don't think I can unless they choose not to speak to me because I choose not to acknowledge them. Mm-hmm. My grandmother, on the other hand, she spoke. She sat down and she had conversations with whoever or whatever came through the door. So I believe that if I was to engage, I guess if you must say,
it'd be fun. Oh. Maybe not. Maybe I don't know.
You know, I mean, maybe they'll tell me what they're there for.
Yes.
You know.
I think so.
But for the most part, I feel like they respect what.
Well, even the so-called demon respected after you said we're done. Yeah, it was done.
Yeah.
So you have that power.
Yeah.
You have
That's funny. My old church, my pastor said that I had the gift of casting out, the gift of rebuking something, which I don't know what that means. That's, to me, that's pretty powerful, you know. And I'm afraid what comes along with that power, if I was to embrace it, you know, what would I be?
Be a Ghostbuster.
Would I be? Yeah, or would more powerful spirits come to bust me? You know what I mean? Like, you know, you rebuke this demon and this demon say, well, I'm gonna go get my bigger brother, and he'd be right. You know, I don't know what comes along with that power. I do believe in stuff like that because I've physically witnessed, and I physically was, I don't know what you say, involved, or myself, you know, on accident, you know, not like I was trying to, you know, they said I have this, so I'm gonna use this. No, it's just me being fed up and getting so angry, and
just using your power to say yeah.
I do want to say one thing. I don't know why I keep looking at those rocks.
You were gonna look at those rocks. I did that on purpose.
Oh, okay. She's a smart girl. She's setting me up.
Well, of course.
I do want to say one thing is, I feel like everyone has the ability to unlock certain things in their brain that's been locked away, blocked off from them from use.
Mm-hmm.
I just feel like that gift that was passed down was a gift that unlocked just a little tiny bit of energy, which once it's unlocked, we have the ability to expand that, to open that door wider and wider.
Everyone has the ability to
unlock, to open up that door once it's unlocked. The ability to use your mind, to see past this world, into different realms. For instance, I was maybe 10, maybe 11, and I was very angry one time. I got in trouble. I always got in trouble for something. And I cringed, or I remember cringing. I wanted to yell so bad, but I knew my mom would come up and whip my ass. So I held it in, but I scrunched as hard as I could, and the pictures from the wall came off the wall.
You went Super Saiyan.
What was that?
You don't know what Super Saiyan is?
No.
Y'all, he went Super Saiyan. Okay, it's a cartoon where he kind of will do this, and then all of a sudden the colors get really bright, and that's when he gets the extra power to fight. And so essentially what you described to me was he went Super Saiyan.
Well, anyways, that little incident got me in a lot of trouble because my mom came up the stairs and thought I'd knocked the pictures off the wall.
But it was just your energy.
But I tried to explain to her it wasn't me, because I didn't know.
Yeah.
I said they just came off the wall, and she didn't believe me.
No.
She thought I got mad and went across, started slapping everything. And now that I'm older, and I always think about that, and sometimes I catch myself trying to move something with my mind, or trying to tell something from the other side, slap that off, but I could never do it. But I triggered something at that moment. I don't know if it was out of anger, and it helped me, but that was the one incident that I could say that, that's real,
There's a good book called Brain Magic that actually will help you understand how to do it willfully.
Mm-hmm.
For those of you guys in my group, it's in the files. So you guys can look at that if you want. But what he's describing, I'll just kind of get into it. What you're describing is essentially learning to wield your emotions and knowing what state to get into to act out your will. So, emotions can be described as energy in motion. So for you, what you did was you held all that energy. So you had a whole lot built up. You held it, and then almost in a way you kind of let it express itself.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't, because it was so natural and you weren't thinking about it, you weren't necessarily using your intellectual mind to stop it. It happened naturally.
Mm-hmm.
So what stops a lot of people from being able to do that is their intellectual mind. It's them saying it's impossible, it can't happen. It's them analyzing it, denying it. All those different things is what will stop someone. But you,
I feel the same way. I feel like, to me, I feel like I block myself because I think of this world. I think of what I see on TV and everything, and I'm like, oh, I can do this. I did it when I was younger.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it goes beyond that, and we cut ourselves off from that signal,
Yeah.
So.
I hear you. So then I have a question, because you had a few cool stories where I remember you describing seeing some kind of being, like a really big being, when you and your friends were out there somewhere in Casa Grande.
Do
you remember that?
Up in the sky?
Yeah.
Floating around?
Yeah.
Yeah. That was interesting. And it wasn't only me that seen it. It was a lot of my friends. We ran from it. It almost looked like a transparent dragon.
Yes. I remember now, yes.
It was it was scary. I remember we were all out in 11 Mile Corner. Remember 11 Mile Corner? They said that there was a Japanese war there, a samurai Japanese war. It's that the apartments were built on a cemetery or a battleground.
Arizona?
In Arizona.
A Japanese samurai war in Arizona?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, I'm with it.
So, look that up. 11 Mile Corner, or...
How do you spell it?
11 miles.
11 miles?
And then corner.
Corner. 11 miles corner.
Yeah. And look up the history, the land history on that. You might find a lot more. But that's just what I was told. So, but anyway, I don't know what that connects to, that thing up in the sky. But there was a lot of stuff going on in those apartments. Not just my apartments, my friends' apartments, other people's apartments. People actually moved out because of things that were going on there. But yeah, we were out playing. It was late at night. My parents and them, they were having a big party. And I remember looking up in the sky, and everyone started pointing, and everyone started screaming because it looked like it slowly started to swoop down on us. And I made a beeline to the house. We got in the house, went in the apartment, got in the second level, looked out the window, and it literally was just floating around the apartments area, and in the middle of the apartments is a horseshoe. The road is like a horseshoe. Go in one way and come out way on the other side, and it just went around that. But with that being said, there was a guy, the man that passed away in my room, that did I tell you that story?
Mm-mm.
That I sent him to my mom and dad's room because they didn't believe that.
No. No.
Oh, wow. So here's a new story. She's going to learn it too today. When I was a kid, we lived in 11 Mile Corners in an apartment complex. Every time I got in trouble, I got my butt whipped, my mom sent me upstairs to my room. Every time, if it was late, like after 9 o'clock or on, every time I got sent to my room and I was sitting there crying or whatever, this man will show up and sit right next to me or just stand there. Never say anything, just stare at me. For some reason, I was never afraid of this guy, you know? And almost as if I accepted him as a friend without accepting him, you know what I mean? I was okay with him being around me. So one day I told my mom about him, and they thought I was crazy, and they thought I was doing it for attention and this and that. And then one day I decided I was going to use that to not get sent to my room because I wanted to stay down with everybody else, you know. And so I kicked and screamed and said, no, the man's going to come. The man's going to come. And they were like, you know, you're going to get it even more if you don't stop this nonsense and this and that. So they sent me up anyways. And so I said, fine then, I'm going to send him to you when he comes. And my dad made a smart remark of, go ahead, send him, you know. And I said, okay. Well, little did they know I was dead serious. At first I wasn't. It was just a threat, a bluff, so they could say, okay, come downstairs, and you know. But when I knew that they were gonna stick to their guns, then I was like, okay, I'm gonna stick to mine. Well, sure enough, about an hour of me being in the room, I guess I wasn't crying enough or real or whatever, and he finally showed up. And I remember my mom and dad was in their room, and all the lights were out. Only thing they had on in their room was the TV. And so I went to their room and I knocked on the door. And of course, you know, coming from a black family, I got chewed out pretty bad for going to their room. And I said, well, he's here, and I'm gonna send him over here. And then my dad made the comment, well, send him, hurry up, because I want to go to bed. So I went back to my room. The guy was still standing there, and I didn't even have to say anything. He just slowly walked past me through the hallway, walked through the door. He didn't open it and shut it like some of the experiences I had. He walked right through the door. All I heard was a lot of screaming and yelling, and my mom flew out of the room half naked. My dad had his 45 running down the stairs, yelling at us. They left us let me tell you, they left us upstairs, and they were downstairs yelling for us to come down. And I was up at the top of the stairs, and I was trying to tell him he's harmless. I was just trying to tell you that he's real. He comes every time you send me to my room. Well, little did I know, my mom and dad said, well, tell him to go away and never to come back. And we believe you. Don't worry. Do not send anything or anyone else to our room. And we ended up moving out of there shortly. Probably due to that. My mom probably was just too afraid. Yeah. But yeah, that was one of our stories.
That's a gift right there.
You know.
I like that.
But they did. That's how I found out about, you know, the kind of like the history of, you know,
the area,
the area, the land, and they found out that that guy that used to come in my room, he actually passed away in that room.
Okay. What did he look like?
Just an older white man and kind of heavy set, a little bit. Like, you know, he had hair, but not a lot. He had a receding hairline. Okay. He just looked normal, but he was different from what I'm normally seeing now. I normally see like someone like you. Okay. But I know that, like, I know, you know what I mean? Because, you know, and they may just appear out of nowhere, or they might come through a wall, or they just stare at me. Just stand there and just staring at, like, if I was in, say, if I was in a fairgrounds or somewhere crowded, and there's this person just out of the crowd, for some reason, I will focus through that crowd and that being is focusing back at me. Then I start getting the feeling either my hair will raise or I get the goosebumps.
You feel different, yeah.
Yeah, and where I know it's not natural, you know, and most of the time I'll just turn away really quick and start walking. I look back and it's gone, you know. But them I can see like you guys, like us, normal, you know. But him, he was almost like the transparent dragon.
Okay.
In the sky.
Yes, as you're describing, I feel like there was more of like a lighter transparency situation.
Yeah, where he wasn't
so fleshy looking almost.
Yeah,
right?
He was more of a. You can see him, but you almost can see through him. You know.
I can see that. Yeah, I totally see that. And I had an experience where I know what you're talking about. There was a little girl. I was visiting my grandparents' house, and there was some boy trying to come visit me, but he didn't mean well. And this little girl came, and she made me feel really different, meaning like physically I felt like, oh, what is this, who is she? But she looked kind of like me in a way, meaning like she could be a family member. So I said, okay, let me just go with this. She looks like a family member. And I'm talking to her and everything like that, and she lived down the way from my grandparents, so I thought she lived down the way. Well, I talked to her, and essentially she scared me enough to make me go back into the house. Then I find out later, I said, well, who's the little girl that lives on the street? Because there's no, down this corridor, there's no way they wouldn't know who this girl was because they knew everyone there. They're like, who are you talking about? I'm like, come on, she looks like us. How can you not know who she is? No one knew who she was. She was never there. I realized later, she essentially came there to keep me from going out. Because I found out later, of course, the guy wasn't a good person. But she looked as real as ever, except for there was just something.
Almost like your guardian.
Right. There was something about her, a glow, a movement. Like there was just something ever so slightly different about her that made me think, oh, wow.
I got a question.
Yeah.
Do you believe that everyone has a guide or a spiritual guide or a guardian, but because they channeled themselves off or cut themselves off, they're blind to it, so their guardian will come to you because they know you can see and will kind of guide you to...
You mean that lady who tucked me in bed that one night? No. You talking about?
Yeah, I sent her over there.
I'm just saying. Well, the reason why, okay, do I feel like that I can see someone else's? Yes, there are times where I can't, especially if I'm doing energy work. So as you described how you could feel the energy moving through your body all the way from your head to your, I feel the same, right? I feel all the energy moving, but when I'm in that zone, it does not require sexual energy for me. That's just because I know how to move my energy around, right? But sexual energy really is just you opening up that kind of what people say is Kundalini energy, all right? And if you didn't know, I was a Kundalini yoga teacher. Knowing how to channel the energy throughout my body, if I'm working with someone, I can tap into the energy around them. So, and it depends on who they are, what's going on, and if it needs to be said. So yes, I do. It's not really a belief. I don't have to believe this. I've experienced it for what it is. So yes, as far as we always have energy around us. And I'm joking, and I joked about the lady, bringing me in because remember we were talking, and you essentially were someone who kind of was still pushing yourself away from it, but you kept on saying in that conversation, but she wanted me, your grandmother. She wanted me to be able to do this stuff. She wanted you to do it, but you pushed it away because you were just living your everyday life, right?
Right.
And then all of a sudden, this woman who's not like any of my ancestors, meaning it was a different energy, came and tucked me in. I'm not saying that was your grandmother or anything like that, but what I am saying is that just as you brought in some energy today. You know what I mean? People carry around energy, and then if you're not getting the message, a lot of times that energy will come to someone like me or you or someone like you to try to get the message out. But if you're not open to hearing it, then they'll go somewhere else.
So, I tell you about the story about my stepson.
I remember a little bit.
So I'm thinking, now that I'm thinking,
Mm-hmm.
I wonder was that his guardian that came to me, woke me up, and told me to tell him to get out of there. For those that don't know what I'm talking about, when I was married, my stepson at the time was at a party, and I was sleeping. I was in bed. It was about 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. I was awakened out of my bed, and I just had this feeling like a presence, but not like I seen anything or anything shook me or anything. I just woke up, breathing hard, sweating, and I had this strong urge to call him and tell him, wherever you're at, get out of there immediately, right now. When the first time it happened, he kind of hesitated, and then he was like, he's tripping, Dad's tripping. But he was like, but then he wouldn't call me this late, there's got to be something. So he ended up leaving. Probably about 10, 15 minutes after he left, the friend that decided to stay there with him, that was with him, his friend decided to stay. Right where they were sitting, something broke out and someone started shooting. His friend ended up getting shot. Yeah. About 2 weeks later, I believe it was 2 weeks later, he was with the same friend. His friend didn't die. But he was with the same friend. And they were at another party. And I woke up, same thing, almost the same exact time. And I had this urge to call him and tell him, wherever you're at, get out of there. I called him, and he left immediately. 20 minutes later, his friend that decided to stay the 2 weeks prior,
he stayed
again and got shot again.
Did he live?
Yeah, he lived.
Oh, God.
Got shot twice. I think the third time would have been a charm. I think he would have believed this because he told him, hey, my dad said we should go. Mm-hmm. And the friend was like, I'm staying here. Your dad's tripping, you know. Mm-hmm. So now when I call my kids, especially if it's 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, and I say, I don't know why, I don't know what, but you needed to come home or go to your friend's house or get out of there or stop driving or whatever, they do it immediately because they feel like, okay, there's not a coincidence that Dad did this twice, and exactly where I was at, there's a bullet hole where I should have been, and my friend got shot where he was sitting right next to me. I don't like telling that story because a lot of people, they look at it as a joke because I think out of fear, they don't understand how can that happen or how could this happen, or the fear of the unknown, not knowing why or what or when or where. Mm-hmm. So they tend to make fun of it and joke about it to push it away, you know?
Yeah, of course, yeah.
And then I turn out to be the crazy guy. So I don't talk to many people about what I see or what I hear or anything like that, except for Kiki, you know what I mean? Her or people that approach me and they start telling me about myself. Then I'm open to say, hey, you know what? Or people that's like, for some reason, I'm like a natural counselor.
Of course.
I've had people in grocery stores that I don't even know. I mean, old, young, just come up to me and say, I don't know why I'm coming up to you, but I feel like I need to share something with you. And they'll tell me their whole life story of what they're going through, their trauma, stuff like that. And they don't want anything back from me. They just know that I have a listening ear. Mm-hmm. And then they feel better and they walk away. So, like, when people are drawn to me and then they open up about last night, I think I seen something, I don't know who you are or whatever, but I just feel like I can talk to you about this, and they tell me about some pretty scary things that they're going through. That's something that maybe that I've never gone through, like the torment, suffered at one time, but not like them, and I don't say much about that, but then I open up and I share my experience just a little bit, and to get them to feel like, oh, I'm glad I got that out, and I look at it in a different aspect now, and they go away. But someone for me just to start talking about spirits, ghosts, demons. I don't believe in ghosts. I believe what ghosts are is spirits.
I think it's just another name.
Yeah,
Yeah.
But what I notice, people tend to get them crossed and as a separate.
Well,
a ghost is this, spirits is. I think what's separate is spirits and demons.
Actually, demon, if you look at the etymology of the word, just means spirit.
Spirit.
Yeah. Really?
Okay, bad. So you know that I don't study any of this stuff.
Well, okay, I'll tell you kind of my perspective of the whole spirits and demons. Demon really mean, if you look at it, it does really just mean spirit. I think people just associate it, I think it comes from fear or feeling like something means harm. If you have a spirit that has a lot of anger and it's in your space, it's probably not going to feel as good as if it had a lot of love. So, like I gave this example, and it was through a dream, but it was a really good, interesting dream where there was this like weird kind of serpent. It reminded you of a centipede at first, and then it kind of came into a human form, and it kept trying to come to me and shock me, like
almost like an eel.
Yes, like an electric eel, but like almost in human form, trying to come and shock me. And what it would do was it would go to an outlet and then get like some energy and charge, like zing up, and then come for me. And I was at first scared. I was like running away from it. I don't have dreams where I'm afraid, really. And I'm running away from it. So that'd be the closest I had to a nightmare, if you will. And then something told me, that's probably, don't worry. Then something told me, you know what? Love this thing. So I started to say, oh, I love you, I love you, I love you. And the more and more and more I did that, it just shifted and all the energy just went away. Right? All of a sudden, whatever it was trying to do, the fear went away, but also the chase, the constant like kind of come after me, it all went away. And so that's when I realized, like, we have the power to decide what this energy is to us. We are not the victims of it. And I've always known that. But then to have a dream where now all of a sudden you're acting, and the dream felt real. Trust me, it did not feel like a dream. It felt like it was as real can be. Because even the feeling of the being was a weird feeling that I've never felt, even in a dream space. So that's what I realized. So I talk about that a lot on my channel. Releasing that fear to help understand it.
And also I feel like that's a... once we go into our dreams, we enter our spirit world. This is just what I believe. I haven't studied any of this. This is just stuff that comes to me where I feel like, okay, we're in our spirit world. There's times where we leave our own body.
Yeah.
When we really get into that world, where now we're feeling like we are today, right now, and you're like, oh my God, this is a dream, but everything's so vivid. And when you wake up, you start thinking back. You're like, you're tired. Your muscles are like you've been working out. This is what happened to me because
me too.
I fought in my dreams. I wrestled in my dreams. I ran in my dreams. I did a lot of running in my dreams. But when I wake up, I'm like sweating or tired or whatever, and a lot of people say, oh, you had a wet dream. No, the wet dream is because I'm fighting in my spiritual world, but my physical um, body is taking the damage of what's going on. It's, as if I am in my body right now walking around. So it's sweating, it's using its muscles, it's tensing up, and I feel like, so that's where the vivid is, and that's where I feel like everything's real. It's real. Sometimes have you ever had a dream where nothing made sense? It's just all over the place. It's because, I believe it's because you're jumping through different rims.
Oh, yeah.
Instead of staying in one and dealing with that, you ran
Yeah, you go from one to that.
Yeah, I ran so hard. Now I'm like in a house over here at this time, but I got the times and everything crossed. You know what I mean? So something that happened in my past here is now in my present, and what's in my future or present is mixed in with my past, and I'm like, well, how did let my corner backyard end up in my house today? Front yard, you know what I mean?
But see, when that happens, I see it as all these things are relating to each other. Even though it seems like they seem so different, I started to look for the commonality. Like, is it a similar space over and over again? You? Yeah, I look for like where's the full story in all this? So I put all the elements together. Where's the story? I evaluate my dreams a lot, and then what I'll do if I really don't get a dream. Fun fact, this is what I'll do. I will go into meditation, and then I might ask a guide of mine, and I am familiar with my guides. I know who my guides are. Maybe I don't know all of them, but I know a whole lot of them. Sometimes I feel like I don't know all of them because there are times where, and I've said this before, I'll be in meditation, or if I'm hearing voices, I'll hear like a conference of people talking about me. And I don't know all of those people, I don't think. But I know my main ones. And so in knowing them, I will call one in that I do know and say, like, well, tell me about this dream. If it's just not something I can just figure out on my own, but tell me about this dream, tell me what it's about, and then I'll get the information on it. Then all the things make sense. If I'm not interested in doing that, I'm like, whatever. But there is a way to figure out what that dream was about. And so I definitely use those techniques to do it.
Interesting.
So I have one more thing that I want to, because I love this story, because this story was probably my favorite story, because it talks about the innocence of children and how when we lose our innocence, sometimes we don't have those great experiences. And so you had this story about your daughter, almost like a ring around the rosy situation. You remember what I'm talking about? Something about holding hands.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So my daughter, she had to be about 5 or 6 years old. There was incidents where she, I sent her to bed, and I'll come out and she's sitting in front of the TV, and the TV's on, but it's just, it's static. There's nothing on TV. And she's just sitting there staring at it, watching it like if she's actually watching. And I believe that she probably was, whatever she was seeing was real to her on TV. I couldn't see it. I just saw static. So I cut the TV off, sent her to bed. And that went on for a while. And then I remember one time the TV was on. And I was like, this little girl, back with this freaking TV. So I went to open the door to get on her about it, and I heard laughing. And so I decided, instead of busting out, I'm going to open the door and peek out and see what she's doing. And I remember opening the door, and she was laughing, and she was holding the air, which was something I couldn't see it. I don't know why I couldn't see it, because at that time I was able to see everything, when I didn't want to, But I think it was just meant for her. So she had her hands like this, and she's running around, and then all of a sudden she just started like going in a circle, but she wasn't running anymore. It was almost like if I had her hands and I was swinging her, not with her legs straight out. She was like, running in a circle like that. And she had leaned back where it was impossible for her to do it without falling. Then I knew that she actually had her hands on something, and she levitated just a little bit, just enough to come off the ground, and that's when it scared me, and I took a deep breath, and I opened the door, and she came down on her feet and everything, and I asked her who she was. First I said, "What are you doing?" She said, "I'm playing with my friend." I said, "What friend?" She said, "My friend, Dad, my friend, that comes out of the TV." Did I tell you that?
Yeah.
And so
I thought that was dope.
Yeah, at that time I thought about The Grudge. Hope it ain't that little girl coming out of the TV. Anything but her. So I started questioning her about it, and she started telling me that it was her friend that comes and plays with her and everything. And so I had told her, well, you have to tell your friend that, she can't come anymore. And the little girl, she's not, she don't understand that. You know what I mean? Well, you think that they don't. But she questioned why, this and that, and I told her that she has to tell her friend that she has to go home now, because I'm thinking that she may have been stuck there, and so from then on, started having problems in the house. I went and got a couple of Siamese cats, just because, not because anything spiritual or anything. We just got a couple of Siamese cats at the time, and then all of a sudden the cats start going crazy. Like, they'll be walking, and then they'll stop in mid-stride and jump back and start clawing in the air and hissing, like if something was there.
Right.
Then I knew that there was a presence in the house that I hadn't been able to channel into.
Right. It's okay.
There was another incident where my wife at the time, she was in the restroom, I was in the shower.
Yeah, that one's a good one.
This happened maybe, a couple weeks after the little girl incident. I was in the shower, and I was talking to her. I didn't know that she had walked out of the restroom already. So I'm talking, and oh my God.
What?
Remember I told you I couldn't hear them speak?
You could.
It was speaking to me the whole time, but in my ex-wife's voice.
Oh.
Yeah.
I've never heard of that before.
That's why I thought I was speaking to her the whole time. But she wasn't in the restroom anymore. So I'm talking to her, and she's talking back, this and that and everything. And there was a hole in the shower curtain about that big. And I asked her a question, and then she wasn't answering me anymore. So she wasn't answering me anymore. So I decided, you know what, I'm gonna, rip the curtain open and say, hey, why are you answering me? You're ignoring me, And when I turned around, I seen this eyeball like this looking through the curtain, and like just kind of looking around and everything. And I was like, this lady, you know.
Just.
And so I was gonna scare her, and I ripped the curtain open, and no one was there. So then I knew that there was a presence in that restroom with me, and it was female, and I got out of the shower and everything, and I told her, how long had you been out of the restroom, you know? And she was like, after you said this and this and this, and I was like, that was at the beginning of the conversation. I just had a whole conversation. She was like, I know, I heard you in there talking to yourself. And I said, no, I wasn't talking to myself. Thought I was talking to you. And she was like, what do you mean? I said, I was hearing, and she already knew that
there was a presence.
She knew that I was able to feel, see, hear things. And she was like, well, you better tell her to get out of here, this house, because I'm not taking a shower in there, you know. And we laughed about it, but that was one of the scary things. And then shortly after that, the little baby, she kept telling me that every morning when I left for work, as soon as I left work, she heard a baby crying in the hallway. I could never hear it. One day I stayed home from work. I was probably off at the time. I'm not sure. She was sleeping, and I, woke up. My alarm clock went off, but I didn't have to go to work, so I just shut off my alarm clock. And I usually, from alarm clock going off, about an hour later, I'm walking out of the door, like clockwork. The time when I walked out of the door, she said it was within 5 to 10 minutes. Within 5 to 10 minutes, I heard the baby crying. Wow. And it was in the hallway. And I decided, I'm going to open the door, right. So the baby was crying right outside the bedroom door. I opened the door, and there was nothing there. Then we confide into the landlord, and the whole family was killed in that house.
So what's interesting to me is, like, you've been in all these places where people have, oops. Oh, okay.
My muscles are starting to tense up.
Why?
When I speak about real stuff, I start getting. My body's starting getting tense.
Why?
I don't know. I don't know, but
you need to do yoga.
I don't never cramp any other time. I can work out all day long and no cramps. But when I'm talking about,
you carry a lot of this energy in your body and you don't release it.
You
need to do like something, because the fact that you connect to earth, like you were saying, or if you have to be barefoot or something like that, you need to start moving that energy throughout your body. You're carrying it all. And that means you're carrying fears and all this other extra stuff. But I was saying, it was interesting that you've lived in so many places where deaths have happened. It's like, I have not had those experiences. I've been around, I've never been in places where I've had those experiences at all. So it's funny that you've had more than one location.
Yeah. Well, two.
More than one.
Yeah, more than one.
And then the connection to spirit. So to me, see, when people talk about ghosts, they're talking about people who are kind of stuck, and then spirits are able to move in and out. And I'm wondering to myself, do you feel this feeling that when you are in contact with whoever that you've been in contact, do some feel stuck and do some feel like they can come and go?
Yeah.
You feel a difference?
Yeah. The ones that I feel that are stuck is the one that basically sticks around. There's hasn't been many times where I've seen the same ghost multiple times, or spirits multiple times. I feel those are the ones that are either passing through or just stopping by because they want to deliver a message, or they,
So, how about your ancestors? your grandmother, people who have had this history, do you ever feel their presence?
Yeah, one time, I felt like right now, it's almost like when I think about a certain person that's passed on,
Mm-hmm.
it's almost like I allow them to, or I summons them, or I don't know, invite
Mm-hmm.
them
Mm-hmm.
to come to our side. Because when I start thinking about my grandmother right now, my legs, I start feeling like energy
Mm-hmm.
in my legs, not
Mm-hmm.
like the goosebumps on my arms,
Yeah.
but this is more of a energy where it came from the bottom
Mm-hmm.
up and it stopped right here,
Mm-hmm.
but I feel.
I'm laughing because I'm an empath, so I'm like, yeah, I feel it too.
You feel it?
Yeah, just
Did you?
yeah. That's why I'm laughing. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but it's kind of soothing
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
to me. It's not one where I'm like, I don't know what that is, or I'm scared, or it gives me a certain type of vibe. When I feel a certain that this type of way, I know that it's a relative or someone,
Mm-hmm.
a loved one,
Mm-hmm.
or a friend or somebody, and it's usually I feel like it's the person that I'm thinking of at that time.
Mm-hmm.
Just saying, hey, I'm here.
Right.
Yeah. Or this is real, or
Mm-hmm.
you know. So yeah, I do feel like I feel their presence.
Any questions for me?
Mm, actually, no.
All right.
I mean, I'm
Good
pretty
thing.
sure I'll get the answers anyways, regardless if you tell me or something else. That is something that I
You hear that? No matter what, he's getting answers.
yeah, I do get answers even if I don't want them, or if I want them or not. Um, I know things like I don't know. Like I said earlier in the video, I don't know how I know things.
Mm-hmm.
But um, everyone I meet, you know, especially if I'm dating them or whatever, and then I tell them about something, and they just stare at me and like, "How do you know that?" Um, for instance, I was dating this girl, and I never met her friends that were in Yuma.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just we're talking about, she was telling me about them, about something that happened,
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, and I just chimed in, so I know, and this person was like this, and this person was like that, but it was as I was speaking,
Mm-hmm.
that it was coming in and out, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And then she was like, she just was not even speaking, she was staring at me, and I was like, what happened? She was like, how do you know that? You know, and I was like, how do you know, how do I, like, what? And she was like, you were telling me about this person, this person, this person. I said, I never met those people. And she was like, exactly, but you told me about the incident that you were never even there. And I said, you know what? I'm sorry. I apologize. Sometimes when we're talking, things just come to me, and I just freely let it flow out of my mouth, or flow through me, as the herbal guy said, energy flowing through you.
Yeah.
And I said, and it just happened, I don't know, and she was like, oh, you're a brujo. And I said, I'm a witch. A brujo means
Oh, brujo.
witch.
Oh, yeah, brujo.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she was like, you're a brujo. And
Yeah.
I said, what do you mean? She was like, you know things, you see things. She was like, if you were to just embrace everything, she was like, you know how powerful you'll be? And I was like, what do you mean? She was like, yeah, well, I'm from Mexico, and we deal with witch doctors,
Yeah, they do,
and everything, and I forget the word, but she was like, And the same thing that you do, the little stuff you do, I see them do, but in a bigger way.
Yeah.
You know, she was like, because they embrace it, they study it, they allow it to guide the energy to guide them, and she was like, you don't even know what you're doing or nothing, know nothing about it, and you're able to do these things. She was like, if I was to tell what's this, the name of it?
It's not brujo. It's not ibero. It's not a.
It's
not shaman, because that's
no.
more. It's a. I don't know what they say in Mexico.
Yeah,
I would think you. I mean, I don't know.
When I'll find out, and I'll text you or call you or whatever. But she said that if she was to tell them about me, that they will come like that, because they would think that I have this natural ability. I don't have to.
You have a natural ability.
Yeah,
you do. That's not.
And me, I just tell them it's a gift gifts that's passed down. But my grandma didn't say gift. She said you have a gift that's of foresight. You're gonna see things. Do not be afraid. Embrace them.
And you've yet to do that.
Because they will bring you messages, good or bad, but they will bring you messages that will help you in the long run, or help you understand yourself, your life, your calling, of what you're actually here for. She was like, don't go your whole life not doing what you were supposed to be doing. And I was like, Grandma, but I don't want to see dead people. And she said, they're not dead. And she was like, you'll know good and you'll know bad. So, and then I was like, well, I don't know. She was like, well, you're going to see them regardless. So
that's that.
So that's that. But I've done a pretty good job at not running away, but just kind of going through life and keeping them on the sidelines, just by not interacting with my sight. I do acknowledge them though, so if I hear something, I will look to see what it is, because I need to see if I can see it. I need to see if it's dark, if it's light, if it's here to stay or passing through. I usually know all that just by visual. Okay. And once I get the visual, I get the feeling. Once I get the feeling, then I know to ask it to leave, or know that it's going to leave on its own, or if it's just here. Sometimes I feel like they're just here observing me, or staring at me like the little girl, like, when are you going to figure it out and allow me to tell you what I need to tell you?
Yes. That's
so.
I agree with them.
Of course you would.
Just say it.
Of course you would.
All right. Well, thank you for being here. I hope you guys got. Oh, we're shaking hands like we don't know each other.
Hey, we're just passing energy. That's all.
Yeah, it's true. Thank you. We'll see what my dreams are tonight. And you guys, goodbye. We'll say hallelujah. Holla magic. All right. Bye, everyone.
Later.